Welcome to Trident Astrology. I'm Janine Kane. Okay, this week we're going to be going over the September weekly forecast for the week of 7th through the 13th. The potential astrological phenomenon that I look for each week are planetary retrogrades and directs. We do have two planets changing direction this week. We have Mars going retrograde, which is a very big deal, and we have Jupiter going direct. We don't have any outer planetary ingressions until December, when Jupiter and Saturn will be entering into Aquarius. Last week, we had Mercury enter into Libra on the 5th, and we had Venus enter into Leo on the 6th. Mars entered into Aries on June 27th and will enter Taurus on January 6th, 2021. The Sun enters Libra on the 22nd, so I won't be talking about that for a couple weeks, but it will be marking our equinox. We had our full moon last week, so this week we're going to be moving into a quarter moon phase. We have eclipses occurring on November 30th and December 14th. I will be looking at major planetary aspects this week, and I will be going over real quick again the numerology and tarot symbolism for the month, just as a recap. The numerology and tarot symbolism for the month is very fitting as it is very Saturnian. We are in a universal 4-month. The Sun is moving into Libra, marking our fall equinox. It is very fitting that we are in a universal 4-month because Saturn exalts Libra and Pluto is about transformation. So while we're moving from the summer into the fall season, the energetic of the universal 4 energy is about responsibility, discipline. It's about the physical, so taking care of our physical body. It's about stability and seeking calmness, and of course mutability and transformation. And we're going to see a lot of that energy happening through the weeks of September. A quick overview for the week before I go into the interpretation. We enter into this week with a gorgeous, divine, Grand Earth Trine between the Sun, the Moon, and the outer planets Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. This is absolutely exciting. I'm very, very pleased that we're going to be having this energetic influence this week. We have Mars going retrograde on the 9th. On the 10th, the moon is in a waning square to the sun, marking our 4th quarter. We will have a T-square energy, a tension for growth energy with the sun, moon, Neptune, with moon at the focal point. We have a T-square on the 11th between the moon, Mercury-Chiron, and with the moon as the focal point. On the 12th, we have Jupiter going direct, and then Venus, Trine Chiron, it will be going exact on the 13th. And just as a quick reminder, when we entered into the month of September, 6 planets are in retrograde. We have 2 planets this month going direct. Jupiter this week is going direct. Mars is going retrograde this week as well. By the end of the month, we're going to have 5 planets, Mars, Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, in retrograde. And you'll see that as we move into the yin winter season, the yin energy of the winter season, the planets are all going to be going direct, yang energy, to balance out the yin-yang energy polarities. Okay. Now we're going to be moving into the overview of the week with planetary aspects and interpretation. On Monday, September 7th, we begin the week with a Grand Earth Trine between the Sun, the Moon, and the outer planets, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. You see here, this is the Grand Earth Trine. It's an Earth Trine because each one of the planets involved are all in Earth signs. What I'm really excited about this week is starting off with a Grand Earth Trine. To me, a configuration like that of a Grand Trine is a portal energy. It moves us, encourages us toward personal growth. The world is in a massive shift of change this year. So much turbulence in society and culture. So much unknown about the future as we're moving into a completely new age. This Grand Earth Trine reminds us to keep our faith. So we're looking at the outer planets of Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn that have energetically initiated the tearing away of the old structures of society and culture to bring in the new paradigm. This all started in January with Pluto and Saturn in exact conjunction. Then in April and June, we had the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which will occur again exact on November 12th. Then in December, we're having the great Saturn-Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius. And see, these are all the planets that are creating all this change. See, I consider this Grand Earth Trine here as a symbol that we are not without hope of a wonderful future. If each one of us takes the time to integrate, that's Uranus. If each one of us take the time to integrate ourself, the Sun, and emotional experience, the Moon, with the massive shifts happening in our culture and society, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto here, we can help ourselves and the world by becoming more centered and whole, integrated, that's Uranus there, functioning contributors to the world. This happens first by working on ourselves. And that's what this Grand Earth Trine here is symbolizing, especially with the Uranian influence in the Grand Earth Trine. It so much epitomizes the individuation process, becoming whole and working on ourselves. We have to do that for ourselves first. We have to love ourselves, take care of ourselves, so that we have the potential to make a positive contribution to things around us and to people around us. So this hope for the future is possible with us taking this time to grow. I feel like this is a portal of hope, a symbol of encouragement to grow ourselves to be the best human beings that we can be. And when we do that, we help the world. And with the Neptune-Sun opposition here, this is the opposition. Here's the Sun in Virgo and Neptune in Pisces in opposition. And with Neptune opposing the Sun here, which occurs annually, going exact on the 11th, we have the opportunity for deep self-transcendence and spiritual growth. And whilst this energy can create a mental fogginess, a feeling of ungroundedness, this Earth Grand Trine energy grounds us whilst we visit the depths of our psychological and spiritual inner depths. Also, on the 9th, this Sun-Jupiter Trine will go exact. So the energy of this Earth Grand Trine is following us through the week. This energetic aspect of the Sun-Jupiter Trine is infusing hope, faith, optimism as we face the unknown. So this energy is transmutative. It's personal. It's about how we're taking the responsibility of ourselves during this turbulent and changing time. Also, with Chiron energy this week, with Mercury opposing Chiron and Venus trining Chiron, it's also about healing our inner wounds as an important component to our self-transcendence and personal growth. All right, now, so on the 9th, Mars is going to be going retrograde. We see here Mars is going retrograde. Mars goes retrograde whilst it's in its home sign of Aries until November 13th. This occurs every 2 years and lasts about 11 weeks. So it's pretty significant when Mars goes retrograde, especially this year as Mars remains in its home sign of Aries until January 6th, 2021. Anyone with an Aries or Mars emphasis in their chart will feel this energy intensely. This is a time during this Mars retrograde to review how you have been using your will and your intentions. What has been your energetic focus? How have you been using your vital energy? See, Mars represents our vital energy. Has it been a positive and productive endeavor, or has it been destructive, obsessive, and negative? These are the things that we need to start evaluating so that we can fix how we're using our vital energy in the world. As we take this next 2 months for inner review, consider what is really important to focus your energy on, and think of the ways you can use your intention to manifest healthy and productive things in your life. Mars, being a yang energy, is now going inward, yin. It's moving opposite to its natural inclination, which is full force ahead energy. So Mars right now, as it goes retrograde on the 9th, it's forced to slow down. And as such, Mars retrograde can feel unsettling. Our energy may feel lowered. So it's important to really ground ourselves and practice good habits for calming down aggressive and restless energy, and take care to use our energy wisely, especially us Arians and those with strong Mars influence. Now, not that I'm discouraging anyone from starting something new during this time. Just realize that if you do start something new during the Mars retrograde, progress may be slower going. Also on this day, the Sun trine Jupiter that we were talking about goes exact. So here the Sun and Jupiter, the trine, will be going exact on the 9th. So this trine will be going exact on the same day that Mars retrograde occurs. So the energy of the Grand Trine follows us through the week. It's infusing hope, faith, and optimism. And this Sun trine Jupiter, it's beneficial to have this energy aspect happening while Mars is retrograde, because it can help kind of balance out the potential fogginess of the Sun opposing Neptune energy and the Mars retrograde. On the 10th, let me pull up that chart here, we move into our 4th quarter moon. Here the moon is in square to the Sun. So on the 10th, we're moving into our 4th quarter moon phase, where the moon is in a waning square to the Sun as it's moving toward a conjunction to it, which will be our new moon next week. So last week, the moon was here in opposition to the Sun. It's starting to move now in a wane. Now it's in a waning square, while it's moving toward its eventual conjunction to the Sun here. And so that's what's happening here. So as the moon is catching up to the sun in a square, it begins to fuse into a T square with the Sun-Neptune opposition. Now this sparks a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tension for growth here. So here we are, we have Neptune here in opposition to the sun. And as the moon moves into its square with the sun, it fuses into what is called a T square. This is the T square here. A T square is basically when you have two planets in opposition, both squaring a focal planet, which this is why they call Moon the focal planet, because the two planets are both squaring it. So the energy of the Neptune self-transcendent and otherworldly influence on our sense of self will have an emotional impact on us this day very, very strongly. We want to learn to listen to our emotions as they open us to awareness of our inner equilibrium and a spiritual attunement. So emotions are directing us in ways we need to grow and change to find harmony. And this T square here is really about that. It's really about that. Learning to listen to our emotions, good or bad. We don't have to name it, just to listen to them and to feel into them so that we can gain equilibrium. And it's okay to be out of balance sometimes. That's part of being in this world. And I think this T square is reminding us of that. And also on this day, on the 10th, we are in a fourth quarter moon phase. We have a T square with the moon, sun, Neptune, and we will also be having Mercury-Chiron opposition go exact. So here we are, we have Chiron here in opposition to Mercury here, and it's going to be going exact on the same day that the moon is squaring the sun and that there's this T square energy. So it's more healing energy. See, Chiron here is an archetype of the wounded healer, and it's in opposition to perceptions and mind. So when this happens, this energy is supporting mental healing and awareness of the perceptual influences on our well-being. So this whole energy of this day on September 10th, we're focusing on inner healing, listening to our thoughts, listening to our emotions, and trying to find balance and harmony as we learn about what thoughts are healthy for us, what emotions are healthy for us, and things like that. Okay, on September 11th, let me pull up that chart. On the 11th, the moon catches up with Mercury and Chiron opposition. So this is interesting. The moon catches up with the opposition of Mercury and Chiron we just talked about, and then it forms another T square with these two planets in opposition. So this T square is bringing in an emotional element into the healing process. Our perceptions and cognitive health influence our emotional well-being. If our perceptions are out of balance with the truth and reality, if we're living in cognitive distortion, or our emotions will follow this dynamic. Emotions are strong indicators of needed change in perception and cognition. So you can see this kind of theme happening this week. It's pushing us forward with hope and optimism as we move into this very healing energy. And as stated earlier, the Neptune opposing the Sun, which occurs annually, will be going exact on the 11th. And we have the opportunity for deep self-transcendence and spiritual growth with this energy. And whilst this energy can create mental fogginess and ungroundedness, the benefit of this Grand Earth Trine that started us off this week helps to kind of ground the energy so we can learn to slow down, meditate into our body, and feel into the wounds that need healing. Okay, now we're going to move forward to September 12th. And let me pull up that chart. So on the 12th, Jupiter is going to be going direct. As we can see here, here's Jupiter, and it is now direct. So Jupiter's faith-oriented, optimistic, hopeful energy infuses us as it goes direct. And with it trining Uranus, right here is Uranus, and here is a trine here to Jupiter. So with it trining Uranus, we are encouraged to make needed changes, recognizing that inner growth is a continual and never-ending process. On the 13th, we have Venus-Chiron. As we can see here, here is Chiron and is in trine to Venus. And Venus here is also conjunct the moon. So Venus in smooth aspect to Chiron, conjunct the moon, and squaring Mars, here's Mars and it's squaring. Our relationships are encouraged to heal alongside us. As we grow individually, our relationships grow and flourish alongside us and support our inner journey. Relationships are the most important thing to help us grow, because it's our mirror to discovering aspects of ourselves that we would never know about without these relationships. So this week is infused with positive, helpful, grounding, and healing influences. And though we are in the middle of immense changes, hardship, and conflict in the world, we are reminded this week to have faith for the future, even though it remains unknown. So, future highlights for upcoming September weekly forecasts. On the 14th, we have Sun trine Pluto, Venus square Uranus on the 15th. 17th will be our new moon in Virgo, and during that same day, Sun will be trining Saturn and Mercury trining Pluto. On the 18th, Mercury will quincunx Neptune, Mercury square Pluto on the 20th. 22nd is our autumnal equinox when the Sun enters into Libra. 28th, Venus-Mars trine, and on the 29th, Mars-Saturn conjunction on the same day that Saturn will be going direct. Thank you so much for joining me. Do join me next week for another Trident Astrology Weekly Forecast, and I do hope that you have the most delightful rest of your week. Blessings and love.